With me now to discuss this further, CNN political commentator S.E. Cupp and the Independent Women's Foundation Executive Director Sabrina Schaeffer. Welcome to both of you.
Hi, Carol.
Hi. Hi. So, S.E., I want to start with that ad that we just heard, done by George W. Bush, touting his brother's campaign. Do you think that will be helpful to Jeb Bush?
Yeah, look, especially in South Carolina, as Mark Preston mentioned, the Bushes are beloved. Jeb Bush in recent polls has been on the rise in South Carolina. And look, that's not a general election ad. That is a primary ad meant to remind Republicans that, you know, the last 8 years under President Obama have been a disaster where terrorism is concerned. And whatever you think of George W. Bush's decision to go into Iraq, you know, a lot of people feel as though the country was safer before the threat of ISIS was underestimated by President Obama. And so reminding especially older Republicans in South Carolina of that legacy, of that feeling of safety and security, and attaching Jeb Bush to that, I think is a pretty good strategy for South Carolina.
So, Sabrina, will we hear Jeb Bush come out and say that invading Iraq was really a good idea? I mean, how's he going to answer that question now since he had so much trouble before?
Yeah, and I'm in disagreement with S.E. here. I don't think that this is a strategy that is going to be effective, as much as I think that foreign policy is something that we ought to be talking about. But this is an election that is all about anti-establishment fervor, and even conservatives are not supporting Trump because he's a conservative. And so I just don't think that this is going to resonate with enough voters. I think that we're just seeing Trump is leading in the polls, Cruz is coming up at about 20%, and Jeb Bush is at about 10% right now. I just don't think that this is going to be sufficient to bring him up in the competitive zone.
Because what seems to be resonating as far as military might, S.E., is Donald Trump saying that, you know, I can't even say it on television, but you know what he's going to do to ISIS. Yeah. And then Ted Cruz is going to make the sand glow. And Jeb Bush has a more reasoned approach.
Yeah, well, the question wasn't, is this going to help Jeb Bush overtake Donald Trump? That's certainly not what I suggested in South Carolina or anywhere. But Jeb Bush isn't running really against Donald Trump right now. He's running against the other so-called establishment, I call them electable, candidates in the field. That was Chris Christie. That's John Kasich now for sure, and Marco Rubio. So I think against those guys, reminding older Republicans of the legacy of countering terrorism that the Bushes have, I think is a very smart strategy to distinguish Jeb from the rest of those establishment candidates. He's never going to talk the way Donald Trump does on terrorism or anything else. So right. he's not trying to out-Trump Trump. He's trying to out-Kasich, out-Christie, out-Rubio, those establishment candidates.
Okay, so Sabrina, will that work? Because word is that it's going to be a bloodbath between Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio, and that could hurt all of the established candidates in the end. What's your take on that?
Well, certainly S.E. is right in the sense that Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio especially can go up against one another in terms of, you know, who has the better bona fides on foreign policy. And I think that, you know, he could give Rubio a run for his money, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that this is an important issue that voters do need to have some thought on. And it could perhaps also chip away at some of that Trump support. We will have to see. Perhaps more importantly, it could also make, you know, sort of undermine Hillary Clinton a little bit. We know from research that she is vulnerable on the issues of Benghazi and foreign policy. Perhaps this is a way of actually saying, you know, some voters who are on the fence may say, I want to come over to Republicans. It reminds them, it primes them that, guess what, Republicans generally are stronger on national defense. And so that could be a good thing for the GOP all around.
We'll see. I have to leave it there. Sabrina Schaeffer, S.E. Cupp, thanks.